So the Talking It Out Festival actually started out as a one-time reading event in March 2019. This was around the time I was raising funds for a therapy session with myself's big production at the Crane Theater. And I wasn't thinking I would do it again, but the reception was so positive, and mental health is obviously, as you can look from my own writing, is obviously an important issue to me. Like, I'm someone who has an anxiety disorder. I have Asperger's syndrome. I have a lot of different things that I'm dealing with. So, and being a producer with all that isn't. But anyway, so like in terms of it being a virtual festival, I was going to do an in-person festival. I was actually in talks with a venue. I don't want to say which one because I still want to work with them on another project someday. But I was in talks with them to bring it there on the same schedule that we're doing it now for the virtual festival. But then the pandemic hit, and so I figured I still have all these play submissions. I got a ton of play submissions in late 2019. And so I felt I don't want to let these go to waste because there were some really good submissions that I got. And so I figured why not just do it virtually on the same schedule? And A, it's cheaper because than renting a venue to do it on Zoom. But B, I noticed with some other Zoom performances that I'd watched, there was a lot of potential in terms of backgrounds, in terms of performances, obviously, to create an experience that would be unique to the audience. And hopefully when people come see it on November 21st, they will agree with that sentiment. But and I just, in terms of me though, mental health has been an issue that's been very important to me for a while. And I felt because half of our donations are going to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which does a lot of good work in that area. So I wanted to do something for them in terms of raising funds, because I think it's more important than ever to be supporting people with mental health issues. But I do think we probably will keep doing it as a virtual festival even after this pandemic, though, because I've been thinking already, there are pros and cons to both in-person and virtual theater. Because the pros are obvious. I kind of said a few of them already for in-person theater, like experiencing the audience reaction, maybe certain set pieces, etc. But in terms of virtual theater, you can collaborate with different artists. You can reach certain audience members all across the world that maybe you couldn't by producing it in a theater in New York. So yeah, I think it will continue as a virtual play festival. And I'm excited for people to see it. And we have some very great plays. I know you talked to Alex Goldberg recently. He wrote a fantastic play. And we also have plays by Monique, Hebert, Donald Loftus, Cassidy, Tilden, and Randy Gross, who will be featured in this performance. And we also have 2 other performances this season in March and July of 2021. So I'm excited about it. I think it'll be great. I hope what they get out of it is that mental health, it's a broad spectrum. If you come see the plays, then you'll see it deals with dementia, which is more for older people predominantly, but it also there's also plays that deal with anxiety among younger people. There's a play in there that deals with PTSD for a war veteran. And, that's without even mentioning all the plays that we have coming up for March and July. So mental health, it's a broad spectrum, and it affects people of all ages, of all backgrounds. And it also affects the people surrounding them and their friends and family. And I hope what people will get out of it is, to treat each other with more kindness, because you never know for sure what other people might be going through. More kindness, or at the very least, more tolerance, but ideally more kindness. And also just, I guess maybe it's too taboo right now in a pandemic to give someone a hug, but to try and go out of your way if possible, if you do see someone who you know personally who's struggling, to just ask them, like, if they're okay, if they're doing okay, like, because, like, I can tell you, as someone who deals with mental health struggles, like, just a simple question, like, are you doing okay? Like, that goes a long way in terms of showing that you care about someone. I think what I'm most looking forward to hearing is, I mean, there's some technical things that I'm looking forward to people seeing, like the pre-show slides and the transition slides that I'm creating. I think look nice, and those are things that we can do in virtual theater that we can't necessarily do in in-person theater in terms of transitions. But in terms of the substance of the plays, like, I think we have a great cast who are doing a good job at bringing these plays to life, and I think plays like this especially deserve a great cast of performances to do justice to these plays. And I think, we're still working through it in rehearsals as of this recording, but I think when people see it, I think in some cases they might laugh because some of them are more comedic in tone. But I think in a lot of cases, like I almost cried at the end of at least one of these plays in rehearsal. So, like, I don't want to say which one, but it's, yeah, I think it's going to be, in terms of virtual theater, whatever you can do with that, I think it's going to be an intense theatrical experience that people watch. And that's what I'm personally excited for. I'm excited for people to see what I'm seeing so far in rehearsals. They must watch this festival because mental health awareness is more important than ever. And, like, I've never been a fan of ignoring the problem. I feel like the only way you solve problems is to start by talking about it. Then actions come after. That's a whole nother topic. But in terms of what we do as artists, I think it's our job to fuel conversation, to get people thinking. And, like, I'm already hearing a lot of people say, like, after this pandemic ends, there's going to be a lot of escapist type theater, like musicals, like comedy and all that. Like, and I'm not bashing that. There's a place for that in theater, but I I feel like there was already a ton of that before this pandemic, and I think with everything that's going on in the world, like we need art, generally speaking, and theater specifically too, because this is the medium we're talking about. We need to be creating art that actually addresses the issues that are affecting us all. Because if we keep putting off these issues, then we'll be back here 5, 10, 20 years from now talking about the same thing over and over again. And, like, if you look back to the 60s, for example, like, there were artists talking about, like, civil rights. They were talking about ending the Vietnam War and getting the military out of there. And, like, obviously we still have a lot of ways to go in terms of both militarism and civil rights. But in terms of, if those artists weren't there, then, they were a crucial part of the activist movements that made the changes that did happen. And if they weren't there, I don't think they would have happened. So I think looking ahead to this next decade, the 2020s, like, we need to be doing what they did before. Like, because I think a lot about the original off-off-Broadway movement and, like, how they were kind of rebelling, so to speak, against the commercial theater at that time. I think as independent artists today, like, I think I view it as my responsibility. I think it's the responsibility of other artists to do whatever they can to try and raise awareness for the causes that they care about. And in some cases, they need to care about. So if you want to learn more about the festival, you can find our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/talkingitoutfest. You can find us on Instagram at talkingitoutfest. And our tickets are on sale now at Eventbrite. Tickets are technically free, so it's open to the public, although we are accepting donations, half of which are going to all the artists involved. The other half is going to the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And in terms of how to get involved beyond the festival with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, I would recommend visiting their website at www.nami.org to learn more about that. And yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about me, generally speaking, they can find me on Instagram at Anthony J. Piccione, and they can go to my website, www.anthonyjpiccione.com.